Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new around here, hello, welcome, my name is Charlotte. So today's video is going to be a wrap up. I haven't done a wrap up for a couple of months just because I think my August wrap up, or for the month of August, I didn't really want to do a wrap up because in August there was only one book that I'd read that I hadn't done a reading vlog for, so I couldn't be bothered and didn't see the need to do a wrap up about one book that I haven't talked about before, if you know what I mean. So I decided to ditch the wrap up for August, and over these kind of past couple of months decided to change my wrap ups. I'm still going to do wrap ups, but I'm going to kind of combine them, and because I'm not reading tons of books at the moment, I'm basically going to combine a wrap up, so my reading wrap up, book haul, so the few books that I've bought this month. Obviously if I buy more than like 7 books in a month, I'll just do a separate video just because it's easier and doesn't make it super long. And I'm also going to talk about the TV shows and films that I have watched this month, because as somebody who probably watches more TV shows and films than they read books, it's kind of a bigger part of my life, so I kind of want to share it and talk about it with you on here, as it's a way for me to talk about it. Without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight into my statistics first for my reading. I only read 900 pages, exactly 900 pages. It's a bit annoying that I didn't reach the 1,000 page mark, because I don't think I've read less than 1,000 pages a month for a long while. So the daily average for September was 30 pages, which doesn't seem that bad. The fact that there's only less than 1,000 pages this month was a bit like, okay, I need to up my game. I gave one book 1 star, one book 4 stars, and one book 5 stars. So we did a pretty average, pretty okay, pretty decent reading month. I had no DNFs and all my books were written by women, and I read all of the books physically. The first book that I read in the month of September is one that I started in August and finished reading it in September, and that is The Deck of Omens by Christine and Herman. This is the second book in the, I don't know what the series is called. Is it the 4-part series? Basically the sequel to The Devouring Grey. And I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this book, it was good. I just think the only problem I had with it, or the main problem I had with it, was because I thought that I remembered everything and had enough remembered information from reading The Devouring Grey like a year ago that I would be able to go into this fine. But the moment I stepped into this book, I was like, wait, who's who? What happened at the end of the last book? Who's related to who? So that was a bit of a struggle, because I spent the majority of the book kind of going, okay, so that's right, remember that, remember that, remember that, like trying to remind myself what was going on. So I think the impact of a lot of stuff didn't really hit me like it should, because I was like, well, I don't remember what happened to that character in this book, so that doesn't mean anything to me. But it still did at the same time, because I still obviously remember these characters and it slowly kind of came back to me. So it was still a good time. I just think the fact that I didn't really remember much from the first book as I thought I did made it a little bit of a disappointment, but I still had fun, and I love the covers and the design of these books so much. The English paperbacks are just so nice. Also, the main thing that I loved about this book is how bisexual this book is. At least 3, I'd say 4 bisexual characters in this. It's queer and it's just so great. We have 2 of the children, or 2 like the teenagers in it, are definitely bisexual, like they're confirmed. The mum of the bisexual girl is also bisexual, and there was just the cutest scene between them 2 kind of coming out to each other. Kind of spoilers, but I don't care because it was so precious and so pure, and I loved it so much. It was just so great. The second book that I read in the month of September was Loveless by Alice Oseman. This is the first novel by Alice Oseman that I've read, because I've read the Heartstopper graphic novels but I haven't read any of her novels. I need to catch up, I need to get on that train, and I definitely do now that I've read Loveless. I gave this a 4.25 out of 5 stars. I had a lot of fun, it was really good. But Loveless follows our main character Georgia, and she's just heading off to university after kind of like a bad prom. This book follows her at university as she kind of discovers that she's asexual, and it's just so pure. And I love it, and I have to say that all the books I read this month are just queer. It didn't even mean for it, but they're queer, and I love it. As it's a UK university setting, I was reading it being like, I want to go back to university, like I miss all these things. Obviously, even though I couldn't relate to Georgia in the sense of her sexuality, obviously I cannot vouch for the representation in this book, and if you obviously want to find out if it's accurate representation or what the representation is like for asexual people in this book, I'd obviously go for Own Voices reviews. As somebody who's never been in a relationship and has always struggled in that, and this is kind of oversharing, I kind of related to Georgia in the sense of not of her being like, I'm asexual, just the struggles that she has around romantic relationships and just feeling like she needs to be in one because everybody else is. There was just a few things. Obviously, I'm not saying like, oh, this is my experience, because it's not. This is not my experience, this is not my story, because I'm not asexual. I also like just how in general diverse this book is, obviously because Georgia is exploring her sexuality and more about LGBTQ plus people at university. We meet a lot of LGBTQ plus people in this book while she's at university. One of her best friends, Pip, I think her parents are from Colombia and she is a lesbian, and then the roommate, or the person that she kind of lives with, at university is, it shouldn't really be like a plot reveal, but is queer. I'm just gonna say it's queer. I really did enjoy it, and again, I think the main thing I loved about this book is just the university, being at university and being at a British university for once. The friends she makes and the people she meets at university, I think I could go like, oh, yeah, I know somebody like that. Oh, I met somebody like that at university. I will say that some Own Voices reviews haven't been top notch. Some of them are like, this is perfect, this is like my story. Some of them have been like, no. So if you're going into this as someone who identifies as asexual, maybe just be aware of that. And the last book that I read in the month of September was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. Finally read it. I needed to get around to it at some point, and I did. I finally read it, and as I said, like, queer. These books are all queer. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, basically a 5-star. This is a new favourite of mine. I loved it so much. At first, when I first got into it, I was like, okay, like, I don't know if it was the writing style or how the story's constructed and how the characters are constructed. I was like, okay, if it's gonna be like this for the whole thing, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I was like freaking out. But as you kind of get into it and you get used to the characters and you get to know more of the characters, it is divine. It is brilliant. I love it. It was so good. This follows our main character Leah, and all she wants is just to go to the university or to the college that she wants to go. She's applied for a scholarship, but then she finds out that she hasn't got that scholarship, so she needs to get that scholarship, otherwise it's going to put financial pressure on her family, on her grandparents, because she lives with them because her mother has died. So she decides to run for prom queen to get a scholarship, because apparently you can get a scholarship for winning prom queen. And that is one thing that I was a little like, not like it made me hate the book and it was a downpour for the book. There were so many things in this book, but I was like, does that happen? Is this what American high schools are like? And I talked to people from America about like, is this what happens? They're like, no. At the prom scene, when they actually go to prom, they're like, oh yeah, we got goodie bags, and they had AirPods in them. I'm like, I didn't even get like a goodie bag, like what? And they had like Guy Fieri like catering for their prom, and I was like, what?
This is a case for the FBI.
Maybe that's just this book, but we'll let it slide for how amazing and how queer this book is. She runs for prom queen and she ends up falling in love with somebody else who's also running for prom queen. It is just so pure and wholesome, but it also deals with subjects such as racism and homophobia and parent death and sibling illness, because her mum died when she was younger from sickle cell and her brother also has it. So obviously it deals with being black and being queer, and it's just so good. It's one of those books that like, oh, the main thing is like running for prom queen, but then when you get to the end of it, it's like, is it really what it's about? Like, really at the end of it, it's just about finding yourself and being you and just being amazing, and it has some great friendships in it. I think another down point I had with it was that some of the side characters and some of Liz's best friends just felt a bit like I didn't know them enough for them to be like important characters, especially like I think she has like 3 or 4 best friends, and I think only one was I like, oh yeah, I know this person, and excuse the hoovering, they know I'm filming, why are they excuse that, and it's loud as hell, I'm so sorry. But I just felt like her other best friends were a bit just not developed enough for me to be like, oh, I really know these people. But it was still a great book. I adored it. Favourite book of the month. I've closed my door a bit to help with the hoovering. I hope it helps. It might not. But now we're going to move on to the book haul. I've got 4 books I bought this month, so not too bad. First of that is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I just saw this in Asda and was like, steal, let's get it. It's going to be cheap in Asda. And I've been meaning to pick up / read this book for a long time now, ever since Meg over on Meg with Books started talking about it. This is your classic thriller where someone dies and you got to find out who did it, but it's like set in Ireland, on like a small island coast, not like an island in Ireland.
Oh, you smell lipstick in my Valentino white bag.
It's set in Ireland. These people come together for a wedding and then someone dies and it's all like, who did it? And I think they all hate each other. And that is just what I want. This kind of low-key reminds me of the Unicorn and the Wasp episode from Doctor Who. Like loads of people thrown together into like a big villa house thing and someone dies and it's all like, who did it? So it's quite Agatha Christie-esque, and I'm just excited I now have it, and hopefully I'll get around to reading it soon. The next book that I bought this month was Magnus and the Ship of the Dead. I bought this just to get this series finished. I've been meaning to finish this trilogy for a little bit, and I will be reading this in the month of October for the Trick or Treat-a-thon, which if you don't know anything about, I'll link to the description below. You should check out all that awesome stuff. I just picked it up and I'm very excited to continue on and finish this series, and it's finally another series off my TBR, or off my like I'm still reading. The next book that I bought was Lock Every Door by Rayleigh Sager. Fun story about this. I was in a little English village when I was away on holiday with my mum, and we were just cruising through, walking through, looking at all the cute little thatched roof houses, and I saw this little book sale outside of someone's house. And I was like, oh, I might not see anything there I like, but I'll have a little gaze. And look what I came across. It was £3, and all the money that is raised goes to helping like rehome ex-war dogs. No, what are they called? Basically going to rehome dogs, which I think is great. I'm definitely going to give my money to that. I'm very excited to dive into this because it's another thriller author that I've been meaning to dive into more, because he keeps releasing more books and I'm like, oh, they sound so good, but I finally got one, so it's great, it's fine. And the final book that I bought this month was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read Daisy Jones, by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I really enjoyed it, and I feel like this is one I need to read because everybody and their mother has read this. And everybody who has read this says it's like the best book ever. And I need to get onto that. I need to know if it is. This follows our main character Evelyn Hugo, and she used to be like a really famous Hollywood actress of her time. When she's older, you know, in the present day, she asked this random reporter or journalist to basically tell her life story and about the reason why, or her story behind having 7 husbands, the whole kind of Hollywood glamorous era and just the journalism aspect of it. And after reading Daisy Jones and loving Taylor Jenkins' writing style, I need to dive into this. I need to do it. I just need to do it. I feel like everybody who sees this and has read this is going to be screaming at their screen, being like, read it, Charlotte. And I'm like, just give me a chance to breathe. Thank you. I'll quickly do TV shows because this month for TV shows, I'm not going to talk too much about it because from now on, obviously in October, because I half decided this in September, in October onwards, I'll start actually noting down which TV shows I want to talk about in the month. But for now, I'm just going to talk about a couple because they're the only ones that really come to mind when it comes to me watching TV shows in September. I have been a bit of a TV show slump for a while now. I don't know why. I just have not been in the like, let's binge a TV show mood for so long. I never really am that person. The 2 TV shows that I want to talk about is, the first one is Prodigal Son. I've just been wanting to rant about this show for so long. So I think it must have been end of August or something like that. But I was just on my TV scrolling and I saw, it was late at night, and I saw, not late at night, it was like 9 PM. And I saw it pop up and I was like, oh, I saw that on Twitter, you know, I'm sure it's got like Michael Sheen in it. I'll go and find episode 1 on catch up and I'll watch it, you know. It is about our main character Malcolm. When he was younger, when he was like 10 years old in the like late 90s, his father was arrested for being basically a serial killer. And his father is played by Michael Sheen and Malcolm is played by Tom Payne, who is the love of my life. I love that man so much. It's now following him when he's older and him dealing with like how much trauma he's gotten from his father being a serial killer as a kid. He's got anxiety, he's got night terrors, he's got like trust issues for days. It's following him now as he's just been fired from the FBI as a profiler because they're like, you're not safe. We can't have you on our team because you could do something erratic any moment. But then his friend, or who is a police officer, who was the guy who arrested his dad when he was younger, goes, come work for me in the NYPD. And it's about him obviously looking back and kind of trying to process what happened to him as a kid, because he's kind of got repressed memories, and trying to him finding out more about his childhood and being like, Dad, you lied to me. Dad, can you tell me about this? But also then investigating other crimes. I love it so much. Malcolm is a bright ball of sunshine, chaotic bright ball of sunshine, but I love him so much. He's so precious, he's so erratic, but I love him. And I'm so excited because I think they're going to start this filming season 2 soon. So if you're like a fan of Criminal Minds and like those sort of shows, hit this show up. It's going to be your thing. Watch Prodigal Son. And the second show that I've been watching a lot in September is a rewatch, and it's a show that I'm constantly rewatching. Yeah, you could say that. And that's Waterloo Road. I've never really talked about my obsession and my love and my dedication to this show. This show finished 5 years ago, but am I still as passionate about it as ever now? Yes. I think anybody in the UK will know what Waterloo Road is. If you're not from the UK, you probably don't, but it is a BBC drama set in a very rundown, comprehensive school, and it went from 2006 to 2015, and it was like staple entertainment for like my generation, because it was just that thing of like seeing all these like bad behaved kids running riot at this school. I know these storylines and I know these characters like the back of my hand, but I just love rewatching. It's a comfort show. It's a whole hell of a comfort show. My dream person, my dream partner would be somebody who could talk to me about Waterloo Road endlessly. Someone who could talk to me about the motivations, just all about the characters and the storylines. Just, I need that in my life. I love Waterloo Road. Now we will move on to all the films I've watched in September. That's the month. I'm not going to talk about rewatches because most of the time I forget when I've rewatched a film. I just want to talk about the films that I haven't seen. I think that's the best thing to do, because really if I've rewatched a film, it's because it's one of my favourite films, so I'm going to be like, it's amazing, I love it. So I want to diversify it a bit and just talk about films that I haven't seen before that I've watched this month. All the films that I watched in September were actually 2020 releases. I didn't watch anything else. I don't know if it was just because, I don't know why. I just all watched 2020 releases. So I watched 5 films I haven't seen before this month, and the first one that I watched was Tenet. I went back to the cinema this month and it was the best thing that I ever did. So I went to see Tenet. I went to see it by myself. I love going to the cinema by myself. I gave this film an 8.5 out of 10, which is pretty much like, this is an amazing film for me. Like, my systems for rating films is, I rarely rate a film 10 out of 10, like ever. If I've rated a film a 10 out of 10, it means it is like an impactful film on my life, probably something from my childhood or something that I know going forward has changed me as a person. Anything between like 8 and 9.5 means it's like an amazing film. I had so much fun watching this film. I knew going into it that I would have to be like, I need to understand what's going on, and that I might not, but I feel like I understood it, like I did. But it's one of those films that when I say like, oh yeah, I understood it, and then people ask me to explain it, I'm like, I can understand it in my brain, but when I try to translate that to words, it doesn't make sense. But I feel like I do understand it. And I'm not trying to flex or anything. All I'm saying is John David Washington, supremacy. He's amazing. I love him. He's so great. Because I think in August I watched BlacKkKlansman for the first time. Obviously that was the first film of his I think I'd seen, and then I went to see Tenet and I was like, this man is just brilliant. He's brilliant. And then Robert Pattinson was brilliant. I think you've got to go into it being like, I probably won't understand this, and that's fine. The next film that I watched this month was once again something I saw in the cinema, and it is the film that I've been waiting my whole life for, and I'm not even kidding. If you want to see me cry over this film, like literally cry, go and watch my holiday vlog. I'll link that in the description below, because I literally cried in that vlog about this film, and that is Bill and Ted Face the Music. I'm currently wearing a Bill and Ted t-shirt because fashion icon. I love this film so much. I love Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's like my favourite film of all time. I was shown these films, you know, the first two films as a kid by my dad, and they slowly and surely became my favourite films of all time, and they mean so much to me because they were such a comfort to me as a kid, and they are now still. When obviously all the news about Face the Music was coming out, I was so excited, so hyped, and I finally got to see it. I'm not gonna cry again, I swear. I think I said in the vlog that it was never gonna be perfect, because I think all the fans are gonna have their own expectations for it, and it's never gonna meet it. That's like impossible. It's impossible for the film to meet everybody's expectations. It was still amazing. I loved seeing them back together and being able to see them back together on screen, on the big screen, for the first time in my life. This film means a whole hell of a lot to me. This whole trilogy means a whole hell of a lot to me. I'm not going to say much more because I just feel like if I could rant for ages, but it's amazing. If you've never seen the first film before, I really do recommend it. You've just got to go into it going, this is like a dumb 80s film. Only critique I have of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is just outdated use of language in one scene, but that's the only, like, honestly the minimal critique I have of that film. The rest of it's perfect for me. The next film that I watched in September was actually, I watched it the day that I watched Bill and Ted. I watched it literally when I got back home because I knew I needed to watch it, and that is The Devil All the Time. Waiting for this film for a long time. I'm a hardcore Tom Holland stan, so I'm like always waiting for his films. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. It was so good. Like at first, I think when I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is really good, and then I came out of it being like, wow. I feel like I don't want to say too much about the plot because I think it's best to go into it being like, okay, so I don't really know what it's about. I know that it's like, you've just got to go into it knowing it's set in the deep south. I feel like that's all you've got to know. And it's just so good. And the acting is superb. Like Tom Holland, like I've always known he's an amazing actor, but he's an amazing actor. Like top tier amazing actor. Robert Pattinson is amazing in it. Bill Skarsgård's amazing. Like everybody is amazing in it. It's emotional, it's gripping, it's tense, and Tom Holland, my love. I'm like so proud of him. The next film that I watched this month was Enola Holmes. Once again, watches at home on Netflix, and this is again a 2020 release. I gave this a 7 out of 10 stars, and I think that's quite low for what a lot of people are raving about this film. If you don't know what Enola Holmes is, it's basically like a reimagining, retelling, or kind of extension of Sherlock Holmes. It follows Sherlock and Mycroft's younger sister Enola, and their mother goes missing. Mycroft and Sherlock don't really know their sister that well because they've obviously been off in the city being them, doing what they're known for, whereas Enola's just a little kid. It's about her kind of going off on her own, trying to find her mum, proving that like just because she's a young woman or a young girl doesn't mean that she can't do what like her siblings are doing. It basically just proving that she's just as good as her siblings. It does deal with women's rights and just in general the rights of people, and it's good. It is a really good film, and the whole of the internet right now is like loving Louis Partridge, who plays like kind of the love interest, kind of like her little side companion. It's just so weird because I've known him from watching Medici season 3. It's got Millie Bobby Brown in it as Enola Holmes, and Sherlock is played by Henry Cavill, and Mycroft is played by Sam Claflin, that's his name, and their mum is played by Helena Bonham Carter. It's got a good cast, like a stellar cast. I think it was a little bit too long. It could have been shorter. Like I just felt myself like it was dragging. If you want a fun kind of kid but kind of like young adult film about female and just empowerment and just being yourself and being like the best you can be, give it a watch. It's pretty good. And the final film that I watched this month, I went into it like hoping that I would love it, but I came out of it being like, that was good, that was amazing, and that is The Boys in the Band. Before going into this, I didn't know that this was originally a off-Broadway play back in the 60s? 70s? One of those eras, I think. And then it was made as a film, like in that kind of time as well, like the 70s, I think. And then it kind of came back on Broadway a few years ago, and then they've made it into a film again. It is produced by Ryan Murphy, so that's how I knew about it, because I honestly engulf anything Ryan Murphy makes. It's about 8 gay guys who are coming together or are together for their friend's birthday. The party gets interrupted by an assuming straight guy, and obviously it's set in 1968 where being gay is pretty much it's kind of either illegal or it's obviously very frowned upon. When the guest first arrives, it's like we need to hide who we are, but then they just slowly don't, and it's about exploring being gay. It is so gay and I love it. It was so good because all the actors, even the straight guy, are played by gay guys. I've seen so many tweets about it and I thought to myself, like, this film shows that nobody can play gay people like gay people can play them. It was just so emotional. I put on my Instagram story saying like gay actors playing gay men, being chaotically gay, overly emotional, and just amazing. You could say it falls into that kind of, oh, gay tragedy, gay sad stories, and why do all these gay characters have to be so emotional and have the tragic stories? But I think when this film is set, this film really shows that being gay is that, especially in that time, gay people could never have what straight people could. They could never fall in love with somebody when they were young and have that fall through and have that be their love story. It's always a tragic love story because they'll fall in love with another guy, but they can never be like, oh, I love you, because it's not accepted in that time. It shows the troubles that gay people have gone through in that time and will obviously still continue to at the moment. If you want like a chaotically gay turned emotionally gay film about gay men played by gay men, just watch it. It's incredible. So that is it for my September wrap up. I did have a lot of fun, even though my back was kind of like strained. I think next time I might lower my tripod a little bit. And it was just kind of fun sitting and just discussing the stuff that I have consumed in this month. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below, or like the video. Let me know what you have consumed, what have you read, what have you watched in the month of September. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe. All my social media links are linked in the description below. And with that all said and done, I will see you all in my next video.